What I am about to show you may not think is possible. I'm going to show you the perfect BRRRR deal in the current recession, in whatever's happening in the real estate market, with a 6.5% interest rate, and it still cash flows. If you're looking around social media, if you're looking at other people's channel, you think that the real estate market is crashing, the world is crashing, and you should not buy real estate. That could not be further from the truth. So in this video, we're gonna look at befores and afters. I'm gonna walk you through my calculator that only my students have access to and show you everything. I'm going to show you every single number, every single rehab line item. I'm going to show you my rehab costs. I'm going to show you my carrying costs and everything. And you're going to see how you can still buy rental properties in today's market that makes sense now and that will create wealth for you in the long term. So this is a perfect rental for me. This is in a quiet neighborhood in an area of town where I already own about 35 rental properties. This is an 864 square foot, 3-bed, 1-bath house with a partially finished basement built in the mid 1950s. So this is literally my perfect rental property on a T. It's a little bit older than I would like, but in general, it's still in good enough shape and in a great area. So I went ahead and snagged it. One of my in-house wholesalers ended up purchasing this property. He actually got the lead from a direct mail campaign that we sent out. He called the owner, went and looked at the property, negotiated that day, sent me the pictures, and I said, I will take it. So we ended up purchasing it for $85,000. Now I want to show you the property, show you some before and after pictures, walk you through the rehab budget, show you everything that I look at when I'm rehabbing a property, talk about the insurance that you need to have on the property, talk about all the holding costs, and work you through the cash flow calculator and show you how even with all the expenses and higher interest rates, I'm still able to cash flow over $200 a month on this property. As I mentioned earlier, this is my BRRRR calculator. This is the calculator that my students get that shows them how much to offer on a property. It shows them what the rehab costs. It shows them how much the property is going to cash flow. It even talks about what the property is going to be worth in the future. So this is extremely valuable, and I'm showing you a sneak peek of it now. So let's get you introduced to the calculator. The first tab is this rehab analysis tab. And as you can see in column C here, I have all the typical costs for St. Louis. These are all rehab costs and rental rehab costs for St. Louis. I tell all my students that if their market costs a little bit more or a little bit less, no big deal, just adjust this column C as you go. But column B is going to be your actual costs that you get when you get bids and you do things. So column C is just a general, guideline. As you can see here, I got the blue columns highlighted, or the blue boxes highlighted. This kitchen needed a full gut, but it was a really small kitchen. As you can see, it wasn't very big. It wasn't a full scale kitchen. So it costs a little less than, but let's gonna just do round simple numbers, $7,000 to completely rehab that kitchen. If you want to do maybe a little bit less or a little bit more, there's it broken down as well. But that bathroom, while it was small, needed a complete gut, had to rip out all the stuff on the wall. As you can see, we patched all that. So that bathroom ended up costing about $4,000. So a little bit more than your standard rental bathroom. In the basement, we ended up painting the walls, the floor, and putting a little bit of carpet, but it's not a very big basement. As I said, this was an 864 square foot house, or is an 864 square foot house. That little rec room was probably only a few hundred square feet and then a little bit extra paint. So we spent about $3,000 in the basement. Really nice if there's already a partially finished basement, just to give your tenants a little bit of extra room. They can throw their kids down there, maybe lock the door, maybe not, whatever, but it just allows a little more room for them to run around and have fun in, or maybe just have a little extra space for a TV room or something downstairs. So that's a really nice bonus that allows us to get a little bit more rent. Going back to upstairs, you can see we painted the entire house pretty much. We painted the interior doors, the slabs inside. We painted a little bit of the trim. We painted the walls, obviously. So got that whole house painted up and looking nice. We did not replace the interior doors. Now, if there's holes or something in that, we'll replace them. If they're nice, usually 1950s, 1960 brown doors, we'll just paint them white, patch them a little bit if they need it, and that's what we did here. Getting into the flooring, we did some luxury vinyl plank throughout pretty much all of the upstairs, and that for us in St. Louis is about $4 a square foot, so we didn't quite, having it be a little less than 1,000 square foot with a little bit of extras. We're about $3,500 there. The mechanicals of this house were in pretty good shape. The water heater needed an expansion tank added per code, so as you can see, we added that, but other than that, the water heater was fine. And then we also serviced the HVAC. It was a little bit older, but not too old, maybe 10 years old, and had a lot of life left. We like to get our bigger ticket items serviced and looked at by a professional. If it has more than 3 or 4 years of life left, we leave it. If it it has less than that, we replace it. The HVAC, per the service tech, said that it's probably got 10 to 15 years left, so we're obviously not gonna replace it. You can see the plumbing stack was replaced, so that cost right at about $2,000 worth of permit. The electric panel was fine, it was a little bit older, but everything was clean and it was up to code, so we did not have to mess with that. The doors, we ended up adding an exterior front door and replacing a few things, so we added a little bit for the doors. There's no garage, so we didn't have to mess with that there. All right, let's get on to the outside. As you can see in the before and afters, the windows are not in the best shape. Those are on order. Windows are about 8 to 10 weeks out right now, so we have everything done. We're showing the property right now, but before the tenants move in, we will have new windows in there. So we have $3,000 in there for that. We did a little bit of minor soffit repair and some paint, so we got $1,000 in there for that. Got the property power washed when we were done. Added some paint under that roof, as you can see, of the garage, a little overhang and a little bit of extra paint on the outside. Some light landscaping, just kind of tore up what was there and left some simple maintenance-free type landscaping. We had to haul out a few things in the house and the carpet and everything, so a little bit of junk removal. So that's basically the rehab. I'm sure there's a little bit here or there, but I wanted to keep this as simple as possible for you. So you can see our rehab total is just a little over $33,000. We like to add a 10% buffer in there because things never quite go to plan. So we have a rehab total on this property of $36,355. Now, I don't have all the receipts, not everything's turned in, but in general, I talked to our rehab manager and went through it, and he said he thinks we're gonna be all in this property between $34,000 and $37,000. So this is a perfect example, as I showed you at the beginning, and a perfect number. We also have to accrue, and you need to accrue for your holding costs, which insurance for rehab properties for us is $50 a month, and utilities are about $200 a month. You have to pay for air, heat and AC if it's the summer or winter, electric, gas, water, all those things. So this fancy dancy little formula will calculate it for you. You just type in how many months the project is and it will calculate all of that. So all in, with everything, we're sitting right at $37,355, which I think is almost exactly what this project is going to cost. So let's jump over to the property analyzer tab. Let me show you how to analyze this and see if it's gonna cash flow or not and if it makes sense. All right, here we are now on the property analyzer tabs. I'm not gonna show you all the tabs because that's for students in my mentorship. So if this excites you at all, if this is a little bit over your head, if this is right up your alley, make sure to message me on Instagram. I'm the one that responds to the message, so I'll gladly answer your questions. But also, if you have any interest in the mentorship, I'll explain it there and even send you some free training and a chance to hop on the call with my team to discuss if it's a good fit for you. There's over $175 million of real estate owned in my mentorship between the students and the coaches. So it is a next level mentorship that can get you to the next level. All right, let's go back to the rental property analyzer sheet. As you can see, the property's value, which I know it's going to appraise for at least $175,000. As I said earlier, I bought it for $85,000. With the rehab and holding costs that I just showed you on the last tab, that's $37,355, but we are borrowing the money for the purchase and the rehab. And when you borrow money for that, it costs you money to borrow money. So there's about $5,000 in short-term interest costs, and we're actually using a hard money lender on this one. So there's about $3,600 in points. So this was not a super cheaply funded deal. Our private lenders had money out. We had long-term deals going on. So we just went with a local hard money lender to help us fund this deal. And it wasn't cheap, but it all ended up working out. I'm not worried about spending a little bit of money here or there on an extra point or a little bit higher interest rate if I'm getting a rental property that's gonna make me 200 grand over the next 10 years. Let's continue to roll down. We have to get the property refinanced at the bank, so we even put in $1,000 for that. So overall, our loan all in is gonna be all in for a little under 132 grand. With that 6.5% interest rate that I talked about earlier over 25 years. So now that's the expense. Let's talk a little bit about the rent and some additional expenses. The rent's gonna be a little under $1,600, so $1,595. Got an additional cost of insurance. You have to have insurance when you own a rental property. Taxes that you're gonna have to pay at the end of every year. You need to accrue for every month. Real estate taxes, monthly property management fees, monthly maintenance costs, and vacancy rate. So this all kind of spits up over here, and you can see your actual cash flow. So we got our rent minus our expenses, which is $890, which is just 6.5% over 25 years at $132. Then we have vacancy of 5%, insurance broken out monthly, taxes broken out monthly, property management, and maintenance. So with every single expense accounted for, plus accruing for future expenses, we're cash flowing $244 a door, which is as much or more than I like to get. This is more cash flow than I get on some properties that I bought over the last couple of years at a much lower interest rate, because I was able to get a better deal because some of the competition has gone away. That's why it's so important for you to continue to invest now. If you can get deals like this, which everybody watching this can, it's a good deal because it cash flows now. It's going to cash flow even more. When I refinance it in a couple of years and maybe refinance it at 4 or 5% interest rate, I'm going to cash flow even more because my rent and all the other expenses are going to stay the same. If not, the rent will go up a little bit. So this is probably the minimum I'll ever cash flow on this property, and it's a good amount. So annually, it cash flows just under $3,000. As you can see, we made the impossible possible. It's obviously possible to buy rental properties today and still make good BRRRR deals and buy cash flowing properties without using any of your own money, because the market is not that bad. Rental rates, as I showed you, have gone up more than the interest has gone up on my property, so I'm still able to cash flow. If you have any interest in learning more, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you want access to that calculator I showed you, send me a message on Instagram.